Diablo 4 isn't a failure, and it's not a terrible game, but it's certainly not a great game, and I think it is confused about how best to grow. Now, I know that the D4 community isn't particularly optimistic about the future of the game, but with the launch of Season 11 coming up on December 11th at 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and with talk of more news regarding the next expansion and possibly some whispers about the Paladin class being revealed as well, I felt that it was a good time for me to make this video to throw in my 2 cents, as a longtime fan of the franchise, about the kinds of things that I would like to see in the game that would really keep me engaged and playing. Alright, so before we get into the video, let me just quickly introduce myself, as this is the first video on this channel. My name is Jason, and this is the Loot Wizard. I've been playing Diablo for as long as I can remember, and I'm a huge fan of the franchise. So I wanted to make a channel where I can discuss the game, create fun build guides, and just create a space where we can talk about Diablo and hopefully, provide a place for community feedback so that the devs can continue updating the game and adding the kinds of things that we, the players, want to see. Alright, let's get back to the video. So, it's no surprise that Diablo is currently existing in this state of constant fluctuation between D4 bad to D4 being saved, and with the launch of Season 11 coming up, and with rumors about further details on the expansion and possibly the next class, which is looking like a Paladin, I felt this was a great time to sort of voice my opinion as a longtime fan of the franchise about the specific kinds of updates that I would love to see that would keep me engaged in the game. Now, to clarify before we get in, I want to make this video about specific actionable things that the devs could potentially implement into the game. I don't want this to be loose. I want to talk about specific actual mechanics that I need to see in the game to keep someone like myself playing. Okay, so starting us off with my first major problem with D4, the skill tree. Now, I'm a big believer that the skill tree currently as is needs some tremendous work, and we should have far more customization and freedom with how the skills look, how they play, and how they scale. Let's use the sorcerer skill tree as an example. Now, the sorcerers have 3 elemental damage types. They have the fire, the shock, and the frost. And you have a skill like incinerate, which is a flame skill. A system I'd love to see would be an ability for us to change incinerate into, say, a frost skill. And it would change the red flames into blue frost. And instead of doing damage over time, it could apply freeze and vulnerable. And it would modify some things about how the skill looks and plays. And a system like this actually gives weight to the changes we make to the skills, and it gives us the ability to create what feel like custom skills. This one change alone would open up so many build possibilities for new builds for the sorcerer. You could use all the shock skills, but modify them to do damage over time, and instead of consisting of blue lightning, it can consist of sparkling red fire lightning. In general, I just think we need more customization in terms of changing up skills and changing the way they actually play. And also, very importantly to me, changing up how they look and the visual aspect of the skill. So that way we can actually feel the changes that we're making, because I just feel that right now, currently, all of the skills don't really have much weight behind the changes that we can make. Yeah, there are some skills that, have legendary aspects that can make some serious changes to how they play, and that's cool and all, but I think a lot of these changes need to be found in the skill tree. And foundationally, the skill tree needs to be a place for us to modify and create builds just within the skill tree without the need of legendary aspects. I think the legendary aspects should be secondary in boosting the power that you create in the skill tree, rather than just having all the power behind the legendary aspects, which is sort of how we have it right now. For a class like the Sorcerer, I think being able to change and modify the damage types of skills and changing the element of skills would fix a lot of problems that I have with the game. Now, it's a little hard for me to explain, and it might just be me being a little obsessive over it, but let's say I set out to create a Lightning Sorcerer. If I really want the build to operate at the highest potential, I'm going to end up taking a skill like Flame Shield or Ice Armor or some other non-shock skill because I need it to fill a niche in the build that I'm trying to make. And I just really don't like that, because if I'm setting out to make a shock sorcerer, I'm really only going to want to use shock skills and only see the blue shock skills on my skill bar. But if I actually commit to using only shock skills, well, then my build is just not going to be as powerful as it could be. So I think a system where I could just change Flame Shield into Frost Shield or Shock Shield would fix this problem, as it allows for me to use different skills that would previously be attached to a different element, and I can change it to fit into the element of the build that I'm trying to make. Now again, maybe this is just me being obsessive, but if you agree with what I'm trying to say here, definitely drop a comment and let me know. I'd be super, super curious to see that. And even if you disagree with me, I'd love to hear it too. Let me know why you enjoy the skill tree as is and enjoy the elemental system on sorcerers. Now moving on to my next problem with the game, it's no surprise, it's involving the end game. Now, I don't want to just generally say that the end game needs to be better, because that's just too broad. So something specific that I'd really love to see in D4 is a system like maps in PoE. I think this would work really well in D4, and it could be probably based off of the current nightmare dungeons that we have in the game. I think we should have a specific vendor in town who allows us to modify nightmare sigils and tweak the run to change the rewards we get, to change certain affixes about the kinds of enemies we'll see, and it gives us the ability to continuously go deeper and deeper into the dungeon, continuously getting harder and harder and increasing the rewards we get. Now, this system is sort of being played around with by the devs when they came out with the escalating nightmare dungeons, but that was really just the tip of the iceberg, I think. I think the escalating tiers in the nightmare dungeons didn't really feel different at all to the nightmare dungeons, and they didn't have any sort of practical differences in gameplay. But it is a step in the right direction. I think D4 desperately needs some sort of system, a bit like the pit, where we're enticed to continuously go deeper and deeper with escalating challenges, but all of these systems are sort of spread out across D4, which I think is a problem. We have the Undercity, where we're able to modify the sort of rewards we get. We have the pit, where we have different tiers, obviously, to see how far you can go. We have the escalating nightmare dungeons, where you can continuously, in one run, increase the difficulty as you go. But they're all separate, and these are all different activities. I think we need one master activity, again, similar to maps in PoE, where we can modify a nightmare dungeon to create a challenging run that, in theory, has infinite replayability, because you can just continually go deeper and deeper and deeper. I think this system is something specific, and it's something that the devs should totally be able to do, and I think they should just admit that they need to take inspiration from a system like maps in PoE. Now, to wrap up with my last problem with D4, I wanted to end on this one because it's a bit more of a positive note, and that is because I think we are going to see some talk about this problem in Season 11 and at the Game Awards, and that is the lack of heaven and the lack of angels that we currently have in D4. I think the epic battle between heaven and hell has always been what I loved about Diablo so much, and currently in D4 we don't really have much to do with heaven or angels, but with Season 11 coming, that's all going to change, and hopefully the new expansion is going to be getting into this a bit more, and there are rumors again that the Paladin is definitely in the works and is coming. So these things are going to be so amazing, and I think are going to really complete D4 in a way that we just don't have right now. And now I'm a big fan of the story of Diablo, and I really enjoyed the campaign of Diablo 4 and of their first expansion. So I'm super excited to see what the devs have been working on and what lies in store for the future of Diablo. Alright, so that is a wrap. Those are 3 things that I would love to see changed to Diablo to keep a player like myself in the game, playing for longer than I am, and just having more fun. So let me know what you guys think. Drop some comments. Let me know your thoughts. And definitely stay tuned, as I'm going to be having a bunch of content up on this channel covering Season 11. So you're not going to want to miss out. I'm going to have build guides. I'm going to have playthroughs. It's all going to be right here on this channel. And again, my name is Jason. This is the Loot Wizard. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope to see you soon.